Hey guys, it's Holly and today we'll be having a look at the LEGO Minifigures Marvel Studios CMF series, which is scheduled to release on the 1st of September and the 1st of October in the Asia Pacific region, which includes Australia and New Zealand. And I am extremely lucky and fortunate to have these figures super early, thanks to Jay's Brick Blog, who very kindly gave me an entire set of the CMFs out of his box. So thank you very much to Jay's Brick Blog. And if you haven't checked him out before, I'll leave the link to his blog in the description down below. He's got some amazing photos of all of these figures up close, and I'm very excited to talk you guys through all of these. So each of these figures comes in one of these little blind bags. I love the design of this bag this time. These are missing the top, of course, because they've all been cut open, but I really like how they've sort of changed it up and these figures really pop on it. And each of these will retail for $6 Australian and $5 US. And overall, this has to be one of the best CMF series that I feel like we've ever seen. There are so much detail and so much personality in these figures. So let's go take a look at them one by one. So our first minifigure in order of the check sheet is Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch from Wandavision. And Wanda Maximoff straight up is one of my favorite characters. So it makes me super happy to see her Scarlet Witch sort of ultimate form done in LEGO, specifically CMF form, because it means you get the detail, and I love this figure so much. I remember when I first saw it, I wasn't too sure on the head and hair piece, but I actually think it works quite well. I definitely think dual molding would have made it just look even better. I think it sort of looks a bit large, her hair, especially at the top, like it does stick up quite a bit, but I'm so glad with the color they've chosen for her hair. I love the torso printing. It looks incredible, as well as the hip and leg printing. It would have been nice to get a little bit of glove printing on the arms there, but I'm not going to be all too fussy. She also this time comes with some red Power Blast pieces, which I know a lot of people were looking for in the endgame final battle, considering she did come with these pink ones instead. The red wiggly woos definitely suit her a lot better, so I'm really glad to see these in there. And she's got this really nice dark red cape as well, and she has the same head as she did in that endgame final battle set, where when you turn it around, you've sort of got her red evil eyes. And when you lift up the cape as well, she has some really nice back printing. I feel like the only thing that I would have preferred for this figure is having one of those coattail pieces instead of the cape, because personally in my mind, even though the cape is in the show, I remember her with the coattails a bit more. My only other comment for Wanda is I kind of wish that they made this that super curly hair piece with the crown on the top rather than that sort of Wonder Woman one, because I personally think Wanda's hair was a lot more sort of crimped and waved than it was sort of like straight and wavy, if that makes any sense. So it's kind of interesting, but I do think it works really nicely. Next up, we have the super creepy White Vision figure. I don't know what it is about this figure. I've just always sort of found him a bit odd, to be completely honest. And he comes along with this sword computer, which we'll have a look at in the second. But overall, I think this figure is incredibly well designed, honestly. I really like how much detail they were able to put into him, as creepy as sort of White Vision is. Of course, I would have loved to see some printing all the way around the head, and I feel like that's something I'd love to see from LEGO in the future in general, just to make figures like this look a lot cleaner, because of just how really nicely that side leg printing and arm printing all transfers around. Now, it is interesting about this figure that they did use a grey body, because of course Vision is entirely white, and while it does look a bit weird, I'm glad that they did that, because I'd rather it look like this and have white and grey lines than sort of jarring black lines printed all over the figure. So it's an interesting choice, but I think it works really well. And then the torso had this really nice reflective gold glow, as you can sort of see there, all the way around. And underneath his white cape as well, there is some more back printing, and there's the back of head printing. This white cape is gorgeous, and I just really hope that it doesn't get all that dirty in my collection. I've got to take extra care of that. And just like Wanda's, it is this soft, spongy cape. Then Vision's accessory is this sword computer, which has a really nice printed tile at the top and bottom. You sort of have this keypad with a little arrow arrow pad on the side, which is a translucent printed tile, which sits on top of this white book base. And then the cover of the book is actually a transparent panel, which has Wanda's house printed on it, as well as the hex around the outside, the sword logo, some little bars and warning signs and flashing beacons. It's an odd accessory, but I also don't know what you would have given Vision, so I guess it's a nice little compliment, but it sort of feels a bit out of place at the same time. And lastly, from the Wandavision lineup, we have Monica Rambeau, and like a lot of people, I would have preferred to see Agatha Harkness in this series, and that is purely because I feel like Agatha has a much more detailed outfit. It would have worked better for a CMF, I feel like, because this is where you get those detailed figures, but considering we have got Monica, I really like what they've done with her for, you know, what you can do with her. Of course, she's got plain black legs, and I really didn't expect anything else because of sort of how plain they were, and she comes with the red Wandavision helicopter, which we'll have a look at in a second. But the printing on her arms, it's pretty basic, but it works really nicely, and I've seen people talk about using this for sort of stormtroopers and clone troopers and all of that. I really like the idea of that. I think it would work really nicely. Her torso as well looks quite nice, but the best thing about Monica, hands down, has to be her brand new face print, as well as this brand new molded hair, and I'm really glad that they did do a new mold for this hair. I really don't think that older afro would have looked quite as well, and I just love the tightly knit curls in here, and this is going to be amazing to have more diversity in people's hair pieces as well as face prints. So in a way, I'm really glad that they did do Monica, because it means that there's more variety in that regard, as great as I think Agatha would have been in a CMF series. I think LEGO has done an amazing job with Monica at this point anyway. And then Monica comes with this brick-built little helicopter, just like the one that Wanda finds in her front yard, which is really cute, but at the same time, Monica didn't interact with it, and since the figure design and her costume design in general is quite a bit plain compared to a lot of other figures in this series, it would have been nice to get a different accessory, whether that be sort of the Ralph Boner sort of picture card. Then again, I know that Disney would probably hold away from giving LEGO these things in case of spoilers. Next up are our two figures from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So starting off, we have Falcon, also now known as Captain America. And when I first saw this figure, I wasn't too big of a fan. I thought the printing looked great, but I just wasn't sold on the hairpiece. I wasn't too sure about the wings, and I just wasn't too sure about the legs and the arms. It almost felt like it was a bit too detailed, but upon having this figure in hand, this just blew me away, honestly. I feel like as well, a lot of that comes from my expectations being quite low, but I really like this version of the Sam Wilson Captain America. Around the back as well, he does have Red Wing, which is a really cute inclusion. So before we sort of have a look at everything, let's have a look at this body close up, because there is just so much detail here. The legs are honestly one of the most impressive parts. I love this side leg detailing right here. It is just incredible. There is so much precision and care put into this. It's incredible. Same with his arm printing. There are so many lines and so much intricacy and detail, and this is one figure that really pays off from that sort of CMF touch with the extra care. Though I'm still not 100% sold on the hair. I think it works quite well and it does its job and it's accurate, but it just looks too skinny and too flimsy for my liking, almost like it could snap. The torso printing is amazing, and I love the detail on the wings as well. And the fact that there's so much sort of reflective silver too shining off of it, it's incredible. And when you take Red Wing off, you can see that he attaches to a stud on the back, and you can sort of see some more of the detailing on the wings. Now, one thing you can actually do to make this sort of more accurate to the show is you can grab a little clip piece and stick it to the shield and sort of attach it onto the back, and then he can have the shield on his back, which just like that looks great, although it does stick out quite a bit from the side. So one thing that I did see mentioned on Instagram by 1414 Falcon fan was actually taking the Captain America shield piece from the mechs earlier this year and sort of sticking that on the back instead, which I can safely say, even though it's not quite size accurate, I think it works really well to sort of give him that look with the shield on the back of his wings. It looks really sick here. When you take the wings off as well, he does have some back printing, which is quite surprising considering you cannot see the wings at all. But at the same time, I guess his wings aren't always in flight all the time, so it's really good to see that extra bit of care and detail put in there. And our last figure from Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the Winter Soldier, or the White Wolf, although I feel like they're just going to keep calling him the Winter Soldier from now on. And just like Sam, he has that same Captain America shield, which at first I wasn't a huge fan of, but now I kind of think about it and I'm glad there's two because I can swap that out with my Captain America from the final battle. And he also comes with just a plain old Lego knife, which is nothing too exciting there. But the printing on Bucky looks really slick again. I really love his printed vibranium arm. That has to be one of my favorite parts of this figure. His other arm is just plain blue because there's nothing on his jacket, nothing too special. And considering, just like sort of Monica, his shirt and sort of pants aren't overly detailed, I think they did a really good job, and I'm glad he does have that lot of leg printing there. On the back as well, he has some great printing, and I love the way that they've brought the arm sort of onto the torso. I think that was really great, and I'm a huge fan of Bucky's new face. He's got a sort of just cheeky little smile there, and then hooray, we finally have an angry face for once, which again works really well for Bucky. Next up, we have Loki, and honestly, this figure's a bit of a disappointment for me. I can't quite put my finger on it, besides sort of, I think his face is the really big thing for me. Now, Loki comes along with Throg, which is interesting considering in the final version of the show we saw he was only a tiny cameo, since the actual scene that this sort of accessory was based off was completely cut, which is quite a shame, but we'll have a look at him in a second. Let's start off with Loki himself, and he also comes with a TVA mug, which I quite like. I think it would look really cool sat on a desk. It is a shame though that it wasn't a TemPad, but we'll take it. But here is Loki alone, and I'm not a huge fan. I quite like the TVA jacket, but at the same time, I feel like I would have rather just preferred his shirt with like some jewel molding to make it look like his sleeves are rolled up or something like that. I'm a huge fan of that printing, and I love the use of this hair here. I think it works perfectly for Loki. Would also work perfectly for Odin, and even a lot of the Thor figures, it would work really nicely. The printing on the pants is interesting. I don't think it was necessarily needed, but I guess it's quite nice. But the real big thing that throws me off with Loki is his face. I feel like his smile and his face overall just looks way too big for the figure itself. It just looks completely out of proportion and doesn't really remind me too much of Loki. This other face I think works a lot better, and personally that's the one I'm going to keep it on because that smile just looks really overbearing in my opinion. I'm not a huge fan of how giant that is. I definitely prefer his Ragnarok face out of all of the Lokis we've gotten. And here's a better look at Throg. I really like the torso printing on him, and the fact that they've attached Mjolnir as well to his hand is absolutely adorable. And he's very similar to Baby Groot in that figures can actually hold onto his little arms there, which I think is quite cool. I also love his oversized little webbed feet. His face is incredibly cute too, and he's got the little Thor helmet as well as a printed cape on the back. As much as it sort of sucks that it's not like a TemPad or something that was more predominant in the show, I'm quite a big fan of this mold. And next up is Loki again, or technically Sylvie, and just like Loki, she's good, but she's not great. I really love her torso print. I think it's amazing. Her hair and horn mold as well is incredible, but I'm not a huge fan of her head, and I feel like something could have been done with her legs. I mean, if we can print suit panting on Loki, we could have done something with the legs here. Sylvie also comes with what is supposed to be alligator Loki or Croaky, but unfortunately they did not have the sort of horn mold. But luckily Frostbix has come up with a little mock where you can take a pair of gold binoculars and some horns and then make your own one, and I think that's pretty good, and it's something that I'm gonna look into getting from Bricks and Pieces in order to do it myself, because I think it would just improve it. But Sylvie also comes with this green sword, which is a bit too bright and colorful in my opinion. I feel like a darker green version would have worked a tiny bit better. And on the back as well, she has some good back printing, as well as a just equally as happy alternate face, and Sylvie's one where I feel like I would have loved a more stern expression. And the great thing about Sylvie too is you can actually swap this out with the sort of Mad Eye Moody hair in order to get a different sort of version of her as she was shown in the TV show. Next up we have our What If figures, and first up is my favorite Marvel character of all time, and that is Spider-Man Peter Parker, and I am a huge fan of this figure. Do I think we necessarily needed a Spider-Man? Probably not, but I'm really glad that we did because the detailing on this suit is incredible. Now this version of Spider-Man is supposed to be Zombie Hunter Spider-Man, but he comes with one of those classic white ropes, and he also comes with a Spider-Man head, which I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But I love the design of this. He's got one of those starchy stretchy capes this time, which is interesting considering Wanda and Vision had the more soft playset ones. And I'm a huge fan of this printing. As I've said, if you weren't aware, this suit is actually based on the one that is featured in Disneyland California Adventure at the Avengers campus, which is based off the Homecoming suit, and it's sort of just Disney's workaround in order to avoid dealing with Sony. And I'm a huge fan of how this turned out. I think it looks incredible. But my favorite part of this figure has to be the fact that we have a unique Peter Parker face from now on. I love as well how they did the dog trainer hair, because I think that works so much better. But what's even better than that head is his alternate face, which just looks petrified and scared, and I absolutely love it. This could be used in so many different situations with Peter Parker. I love it so much. You do get an alternate head, which is brand new, and I love the design of this as well. The shading on the eyes looks incredible. I'm a huge fan of this figure. Following one of my favorite figures, we have my least favorite figure, and despite all of the blatant favoritism I have towards Spider-Man, I even taking that out of it, I'm just not a huge fan of this Captain America zombie version. I feel like it's the weakest for me in my opinion, purely because of the character. In terms of the figure, I think the detailing is incredible. I love all of the ruggedness of this outfit. I love the dented helmet. That can be reused on any Captain America. And I love the dented shield. Once again, that can be used on any Captain America. And I do feel like kids will quite enjoy it, the fact that it's a zombie, and I feel like you could bulk buy this and use those arms and use the heads to make other zombies. But for me, it's just a pain. I feel like we really didn't need a third Captain America figure, let alone a fourth one with a Captain America shield. As much as I love that shield, I feel like this place could have been given to someone else. The printing is pretty good, although I wouldn't say it's the most amazing thing, considering the torso does look just like a dirty version of the ones we've seen in the sets to me. Next is the standout of this series to me, and the biggest surprise, and that is Agent Carter. Now, I didn't expect to love this figure as much as I do, but I think she has to be my favorite. I love her hairpiece straight away. It just screams Peggy. It's so accurate. I absolutely love it. Same with her face. It looks so much like Hayley Atwell's Peggy Carter. It's incredible, and I'm a huge fan of that. She's got a smiling face, and one of the only figures to have an angry face. Not even to mention the shield and the printing and the Tesseract. I love it. And I also really like the use of the Tesseract here, using these sort of shiny, transparent blue pieces. I think this works really well, and scale-wise, I think works better than the Tesseract Minecraft head that was in the Hydra Stomper set. I think the shine to it as well looks a bit more accurate. But one thing I didn't really think about until I read Jay's Brickblog's review was that it probably should have been a tile on the top of the Tesseract. Now, I didn't really think about that at first, but after he mentioned it, I could not get that thought out of my head. I don't know why they just did two plates, because it's not a flat cube anymore, but I really do like the design of that, and that's a great inclusion too. But Peggy, just the detail on the legs, the detail on the arms, the torso, everything's amazing about this character. I love the printing. I love the detail. I love the fact that you can reuse the legs and reuse the arms and just improve your Captain Americas. This is such a versatile figure. Next up, we have T'Challa as Star-Lord. One big win though for me was the fact that we get a Chadwick Boseman Black Panther face. I'm a very big fan of that, and I'm gonna stick him on the Black Panther figure actually after we take a look at this. I'm also a massive fan of his new hairpiece. I can think of so many characters that would work well for. The torso printing on his jacket as well looks really nice and really intricate. You could reuse these legs on a regular Star-Lord too, and I love the little jetpack printing on the boots. I thought that was an incredible inclusion on this figure. And T'Challa as well comes with these vibranium blasters, which I thought was really cute. And on top of the face and the hair, he actually comes with the Star-Lord helmet. So unfortunately, there's no double-sided face to T'Challa, but at least you can stick on the helmet and give him the full Star-Lord outfit, which is a really cool inclusion. I'm glad they even made a new mold to have his hair sticking out of the top and not sort of have the tousled one from Peter Quill. I thought that was a great touch, but definitely I think it's a massive win to have his head and his hair, and that is what he looks like. There is our good old Chadwick Boseman. Just makes me kind of sad and emotional actually. This just looks really cute and is a really nice tribute to the late actor. And the last figure for this series is Gamora as Thanos. Now she comes with the dual blade, which is just a gold lightsaber hilt with two of those sort of sharp bladey pieces on the side, and the printing from Gamora is fantastic. I love the dual molded arms with the shield printing. It looks great. The gold is incredible, the hip printing and everything, although it is a shame that she doesn't have any side leg printing or dual molding even for that matter. Again, I guess it's not too necessary, but when you do arch her legs back, you can sort of see where it cuts off and it's not all that great, but LEGO did do it quite high enough that you can get some mobility without it getting to that point. And in typical Gamora fashion, she has the pink bits at the end of her hair, which are actually a different color this time. You've got the bright pink at the bottom and the darker pink sort of heading up, which looks a lot better in my opinion. It stands out a lot nicer and just looks overall a lot more bright. And she's also got a brand new face print, which I'm a really big fan of. And then when you turn it around to the other side, she's one of those, luckily, that has an angry expression. So there is the entire series, and like I said in the intro, I think this has to be one of the best LEGO CMF series that we've ever gotten. I do feel like there's a few figures that I would have swapped out personally, according to sort of my taste and sort of what I think would have worked better in terms of character-wise, but I think that the characters they did choose, there is such a wide range here for any Marvel fan, and I love the attention to detail that is put into them, and they look so great put all together. I am a massive fan, and there are definitely a lot of characters too that I feel like you'd probably want some duplicates of. Like, I know for myself, I'd love to get another one of these Peter Parkers, maybe even a T'Challa as Star-Lord to get that head and the hair. Even I'm tempted to get another Peggy just so that I can upgrade my Captain America and even make a custom Agent Carter using that head and hair piece. But there they all are, and if you guys would like some help on what to feel for, I did make a feel guide a couple of weeks ago, which would have been my sort of plan to action in order to find all of these figures, so I'll leave that linked for you here. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time guys, I'll see you later.